Hi everyone, really glad that you've joined me here, and what we're going to do is just pick a few cards out of the old tarot deck and have a look at what might be going on for you and what might be going on for the world. And for light workers, for people who feel that they are very consciously on a spiritual path in life, there's an awful lot going on right now. We've got all this powerful solar light coming in. It's just pouring in, and it's making life in some ways a little intense because we are in the process of healing so much. And yet, on the other hand, it's making life incredibly beautiful because we know we're going toward Nasara law being fully enacted. We're going toward higher consciousness on this planet. We're going toward a time of peace. Not just prosperity and abundance, which are completely wonderful, but also very profoundly, we're going toward peace. And so even while old pain and trauma and old grief and rage are coming up to the surface to be released and healed finally, we don't want to have to come back and do all this again. While all that's coming up, we are dealing with that. Not always very happy. Doing taxes here in the US, due in the middle of the month. That's not the most joyous thing necessarily, and yet we can release all blame, all bitterness against Uncle Sam, as he's called, and all feelings of being cheated, trampled on as being the little guy, because this is our time. We're coming into our empowerment. We're coming into claiming our true power, our God, Goddess selves, and our creator source energy aspect. And that's in everybody. Not just the spark, but the whole flame of the divine is in everybody. So let's take a look right now. Think of an issue in your life. All right, let's look at, for instance, we're just going to ask the higher selves, all of your higher selves. If you're watching this, your higher self has known you'd be here. And I'm going to ask what would be good. We just mentioned about taxes. So would economics, would finances be okay to ask about? All right, so let's ask about that. Just concentrate for a moment on your finances, on how you feel about them. And we're going to pull a card, and the higher selves are going to give us some input about that. So we're just concentrating on that. It might be a broad message. It might have to do with how your country or how the world is doing, or how this whole monetization process is doing in terms of new forms of work and new sustainable communities and everything else going on. Okay. So they're telling me to cut the cards, which I'm doing now. And then Ace of Swords. So just look at that card for a moment and see what comes up for you intuitively. And I can certainly read the more sort of traditional look into that, and I just give you a really quick input on it. It means, according the divinatory meaning, the traditional view: triumph, the excess degree in everything, conquest, triumph of force. That's interesting. A card of great force in love as well as in hatred. All right, so just look at that. See if you can get something from it intuitively as far as how it feels to you. And I'm going to ask the higher selves, could you give some input, please? There's a crown right at the top, a crown and garland. So they're telling me that it has to do with us finding our strength and declaring our independence from the old system, which is really very harassing and very narrow, and only certain people are allowed to have money, and only certain people are allowed to do well in life. And it was just very oppressive and suppressive, and that time is ending. And this, you know, the one hand seemingly coming out of the blue, holding the sword, and this beautiful crown at the top is sort of like saying, look, we're proclaiming that we are the co-creators of our own life, and you're not going to take that freedom from us anymore. And so it's us finding our voice, is what they're saying. and the wherewithal to stand on our own and not expect the old system to come through for us, as it sort of did sometimes, but not really. I mean, how many jobs have you had, my friend, where you were really paid what you were worth? Probably not too many. Unless you're a brain surgeon, probably not too many. So let's keep going here, but we're proclaiming our strength and we're moving forward, and that's really, really beautiful. All right, now I'm going to ask the higher selves what next. Relationships or family or... Okay, either romance or family. Pick one of those, okay? Concentrate. Okay, romantic. They prefer we look at romantic relationships. All right. All right, so it would be up in the heart space. You know, you're really thinking in terms of meeting someone new if you haven't got a partner right now, or getting along better and understanding far better the partner or spouse you've got now, or a special friend. It's up to you, however you want to term it. Maybe you're dealing with your own gender or sexual identity. That's fine, however you want to look at it. However you want to use this particular card draw. Just waiting for them. Okay, so I'll cut once, twice. Aha, interesting. All right, again, this is the 7 of Wands. And so again, I'm going to just give the kind of traditional outlook. It's a card of valor. On the surface, 6 are attacking 1. You can see that these are the wands, these staffs are being wielded by somebody. But you see that this man has the vantage point. He has the vantage position. On the intellectual plane, it signifies discussion, wordy strife, in business negotiations, war of trade, barter, competition. It's also a card of success. The combatant is on the top and his enemies may be able to reach him. I'm going to ask, how does this relate to romance then? Okay. Okay, all right, explain this doesn't have anything to do with dealing with your partner. This has to deal with you and I facing down what's in us that has given us trouble one life after another. And we have the vantage point now. We're above all of these points of opposition, even if it doesn't feel like it. We're well above it. And we're dealing with old ghosts, old pain, old trauma, old shock and grief. Maybe we lost loved ones, lost a partner or spouse in another life. Maybe we were fighting for them, maybe envious because there were other people clamoring for their attention. Maybe we lost them because they went off with someone else, or we just never got along with them, or they or we were quite abusive. And so we're fighting all these old battles now, and they're saying it's a heavy situation. It feels like a heavy burden and heavy weight coming down upon us some days. You may find yourself just crying sometimes, getting out old pain or old shock. That's okay. Let that tear come up, all of it. Let the upset come up. Let the anger come up. You're not losing anything that you really need to keep. You're just releasing the things that have been incredibly hard for you for a long time. That's all. That's all. You're not releasing anything that is really of value to you anymore. You've learned your lessons and you're moving on. So that's interesting. I wouldn't have expected that. Everyone wants to get, something beautiful. I'm trying to find the card. I just now passed it. But anyway, like the Lovers or something signifying domestic bliss. Everyone wants that. And for many people, that's on its way. It absolutely is, whether with this partner or another one. But they're just saying you're fighting old tendencies and dissolving old patterns that have always gotten in your way. And again, we don't want to have to come back to 3D to face all this happy nonsense. Let's just dissolve it now, friends. Let's just get rid of it now. So, all right, what now? Higher selves. Okay, it wants to look at life purpose. So just think of that. Just think, what is my life purpose? And I think I know maybe, but maybe I'm wrong on that. So just hold that in your heart for a bit. And the cards are being infused and directed by those energies. And so we're working out of time here, out of space-time, with the higher selves assisting and your spirit guides assisting. Okay, all right. They're saying that's enough. Cutting the cards once and twice. Ah, this is lovely. Okay, so it's the Seven of Pentacles. So this one's a little more easygoing. And again, let's look at the traditional viewpoint. Mainly it's a card of money, business, and barter, but it's also one reading gives altercation, quarrel, and another reading gives innocence, ingenuity, purgation. All right. So, you know, the description is that a young man is leaning on his staff and looking intently at seven pentacles attached to a clump of greenery. And one would say these were his treasures and that his heart was there. All right. So higher selves, spirit teams, what is happening exactly with this one? We're just going to look at this for a moment. Okay, so that's a beautiful reading. They're saying that everybody has come to the earth with these wonderful gifts, these absolutely beautiful treasures, and they've sprouted on the vine, on the tree here, on the bush, as you can see, and that's completely wonderful. And yet there's this feeling where people will wonder, am I giving enough? Am I doing enough? Am I in the right line of work? And really the line of work that you do, my friend, might be connected to your overall earth mission and your life purpose. Chances are it encapsulates only a small part of it. And maybe you're in it to learn a lot. Maybe you're in it to influence other people, to anchor a lot of light in that particular industry. And let's see what the team are saying here. Teams, plural. Yeah. These are intrinsic gifts, they're saying, and they're ethereal. And don't expect that it's always going to be obvious. You know, the young man's looking a bit doubtfully upon these beautiful treasures. The pentacle means earthly treasure. And your earthly treasure, yes, sometimes that's going to be obvious. It's going to be money in the bank or good health or wonderful relationships. But a lot of times it's going to be just what you give to the world through your heart space. It's not going to be something that's very obvious and that you can hold in your hand. It's going to be your presence. It's going to be your outlook. And just the beautiful gifts you give energetically to whatever situation you're in. Maybe you just have this special smile and this special presence that heals people and lifts them on some level they're not even fully aware of at the time. And so they're just sort of feeling like, wow, I always feel better when he or she is in the room, or I always feel a little bit lifted, you know, just hearing these stories that you tell, or I always feel a little bit better with getting your outlook on the issues that I'm going through. So that's not a huge career, but that's something you offer, you yourself, total strangers you meet at the grocery store or on a bus or train, somebody that you are friends with for just a little while or many years, and certainly your loved ones. And it's something you give to them. You've just got some special presence, and they're like bits of sparkling light, all of these different facets of your, not just personality, but your spirit. And it's your higher self talking. All right, wonderful. Let's see if they've got one for the state of the world, and that'll be our last one for now. And of course, I also do the angel card readings, and I tend to do those near the start of the abundance call. Abundant Living podcast. If I can get it out, Abundant Living podcast, which I do twice a month. And if you haven't tried that yet, you might enjoy it. But let's think, state of the world. Just hold that for a moment. Where are we in this crazy old earth? Gazillions of ETs gathered all around this planet right now, watching us ascend. This is the greatest show on earth, is what Dolores Cannon would say, and I revised that to the greatest show in the universe, because this is a troubled planet, has been for eons, and now we're moving up. And boy, don't the old crowd know it. They're a little unhappy about that, but there you are. So I'm just asking, state of the world, please. All right. Counting once and twice. Oh my word. All right. This is actually it makes perfect sense. It's justice, having to do with equity, rightness, probity, executive strength, triumph for the deserving side, and law. So it looks like divine justice coming to the earth, by the look of it. It also looks again like we're reclaiming our sovereignty and our strength and our independence and our own thought over being mentally entrained and programmed. So I'm going to ask that your teams, all the spirit teams, would you say that's about right? Okay, and using our voices to proclaim divine justice. You know, you see this, you see, the media doesn't always cover it, but they have, say, in the case of France, with people in Paris, thousands of people on the street, and they've got their fake guillotines that they're carrying from Macron, and they're just so fed up because he moved the retirement age from 62 to 64, and they should be very fed up with that because he didn't open it up to a vote on the floor of their parliament. So if he moved it up in a totalitarian sense, he just sort of said, oh yeah, we're moving the retirement age up to 64. In a few years, he could move it up to 66 or 67 and still expect people to put up with it, and then 70, and on and on and on. And the whole way that he did that shows a total disregard for democracy, and that isn't right. When, good gravy, France fought for her democracy just as the US and many other countries have. And so that's one example. And then you see these young people out in Tennessee at the state legislature saying, you know, young people's lives, children's lives, not guns. And again, we're proclaiming our strength, we're proclaiming our independence, and in a sense, our innocence, that we are not part of the corrupt system that we are surrounded by. Really beautiful, absolutely beautiful that the divine justice is being demanded, and your spirit teams are saying it's being demanded with our voices and our presence and our spirits. And excellent. We don't have to wait for ETs to rescue us. We don't have to wait for Nasara to rescue us. We're doing the work. We're doing the job. So that paves the way for more intervention on a higher level, angelic and otherwise, and it paves the way for Nasara's enactment. And I send much love and many blessings. Thank you so much for being here today. And, you know, if you've got questions, write them in the comments below, and I hope you'll subscribe and like the video, and I hope to do more of these readings for you if you'd like to see more of them. So huge blessings, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.